Little girl cries over broken toy. Keanu Reeves unexpected gesture changes her life. Where are you watching this video from? Please comment and let us know. Also, don't forget to like the video and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. The park buzzed with life on that warm golden afternoon. Laughter echoed through the air as children ran across the soft grass, their carefree joy mingling with the rustling leaves overhead. Picnic blankets dotted the landscape while parents relaxed under the shade of towering oak trees near the playground. A little girl named Emily twirled with excitement, her curly blonde hair catching the light. In her small hands, she clutched a red and blue toy airplane, a beloved treasure worn from countless adventures. Every scratch and scuff on its plastic surface told a story. Her father had given it to her on her 5th birthday, just weeks before he passed away. It was her reminder of him, the piece of him she carried wherever she went. Vroom. Emily made the sound of the airplane soaring through the sky as she darted between the trees. Her mother sat nearby on a bench, smiling softly as she watched her daughter's boundless imagination take flight. Not far from them, a man sat quietly on another bench, legs stretched out, engrossed in a weathered paperback. Dressed simply in jeans and a black t-shirt, Keanu Reeves blended into the scene without drawing much attention. A pair of sunglasses rested on his nose, shielding his thoughtful gaze as he occasionally glanced up from his book to watch the world go by. A breeze swept through the park, rustling pages and stirring the wildflowers that dotted the grassy field. Emily's giggles floated through the air, catching Keanu's ear for a fleeting moment. He smiled faintly, appreciating the innocence of the moment, before returning to his book. That peace never lasts. Long in a bustling park, in the distance, a group of older boys raced across the path, their loud shouts cutting through the gentle hum of the afternoon. Their sneakers thudded against the pavement as they dashed toward the playground, paying no mind to anyone in their path. Emily didn't notice them coming. She held her airplane high, pretending it was soaring through turbulent skies. Just as one of the boys brushed past her, his foot clipped the edge of her hand. Time seemed to freeze. The airplane tumbled from her fingers, spinning toward the ground. The unmistakable sound of plastic shattering echoed through the air. Emily froze, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at the broken pieces scattered on the grass. Her lips trembled. Tears welled up in her big blue eyes. And then, like a dam breaking, she sobbed uncontrollably. The kind of raw, heartbreaking cry only a child can produce. Keanu lowered his book, his brow furrowing with concern. He watched the scene unfold, Emily on her knees, desperately trying to piece together the shattered remnants of her cherished toy. Parents nearby glanced sympathetically but did nothing. The boys had already vanished. Without hesitation, Keanu closed his book and stood up. He walked toward Emily, his steps measured but purposeful, a quiet determination in his stride. "Hey," he said, gently kneeling beside her. His voice was warm, steady. "What happened?" Emily sniffled, clutching a jagged piece of the airplane. They broke it," she managed between sobs. "My daddy gave this to me." Keanu's heart tightened. He didn't need to hear the rest to understand the weight of her words. What happened next would change Emily's life forever. Keanu knelt beside Emily, his dark eyes soft with empathy as she struggled to speak through her sobs. Her small fingers clutched tightly at the shattered pieces of her beloved toy airplane. The bright red wings had snapped in 2 jagged edges, jutting out awkwardly. One of the propellers dangled by a fragile thread of plastic. I was just playing," Emily whimpered, her voice trembling. "And they ran over it." Her tiny chest heaved as fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. A few feet away, scuffed sneaker prints marked the spot where the group of rowdy boys had charged through without a care. Their careless laughter still echoed faintly as They disappeared beyond the playground, completely unaware of the heartache they'd left behind. Keanu's gaze flicked, briefly toward their retreating figures, then back to Emily. There was no anger in his expression, just quiet understanding. Emily's mother hurried over from the bench, concern etched on her face. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly, kneeling to comfort her daughter. "It's okay, baby, it's just a toy." But Emily shook her head fiercely. "No, it's not just a toy," she cried. "Daddy gave it to me. He said it would take me on adventures." Her voice broke into a whisper. "And now it's gone." Keanu felt a pang deep in his chest. He knew all too well the weight of loss. How objects tied to memories could become sacred. To Emily, that broken toy was far more than just plastic. It was a connection to someone she loved and missed deeply. He took a slow breath, steadying himself. "Hey," he said gently, drawing Emily's tear-filled gaze toward him. "You know, sometimes broken things can be fixed or even made better." Emily sniffled, doubtful, hugging the broken plane to her chest. Keanu offered a small, reassuring smile. "Why don't we see what we can do together? How about that?" Emily's mother lipped up, surprised by the kind stranger's unexpected offer. "That's really sweet of you," she began, but before she could finish, Keanu spoke again, calm yet certain. "It's no trouble at all." His tone carried a quiet conviction, the kind that made it clear he meant what he said. Emily hesitated, but nodded slowly, wiping her tear-streaked face with the back of her hand. Keanu stood up, extending his hand toward her. "Come on," he said warmly. "Let's go find a new adventure." The little girl looked up at him, unsure but curious. She took his hand. Together they walked toward the edge of the park, leaving behind the shattered fragments of the past, ready to turn this heartbreak into something beautiful. Keanu's footsteps were soft on the grass as he approached Emily, who was still kneeling on the ground, her small frame trembling with grief. Her mother hovered nearby, unsure how to console her daughter's broken heart. The shattered airplane lay in pieces. Beside Emily, a once colorful toy, now a jagged mess of red and blue fragments. Keanu stopped a few steps away, pausing for a brief moment before lowering himself to one knee. His gentle presence cut through the sounds of the bustling park, grounding the moment in unexpected calm. "Hey," he said softly, his voice warm and steady. "What happened here?" Emily sniffled loudly, wiping at her tear-streaked face with her sleeve. She glanced up at Keanu through blurry eyes, hesitant but desperate to be heard. They ran over it," she managed, her voice breaking. "They didn't even stop." Keanu's gaze shifted to the crushed pieces of the airplane. He picked up one of the fragments delicately, like it was fragile glass. His brow furrowed, but he said nothing, giving Emily space to speak. "It was my daddy's gift," she continued, her words tumbling out between shaky breaths. "He gave it to me on my birthday before he went away." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He's never coming back." Keanu's chest tightened. He didn't need her to explain further. The weight of those words was all too clear. The kind of loss that lingers, shaping every memory, every keepsake left behind. "I'm really sorry," Emily, Keanu said, quietly, his voice filled with genuine compassion. "That must be really hard." Emily nodded, biting her lip as fresh tears welled up. "It was the best toy," she whispered. "Now it's ruined, just like everything." Keanu glanced at the crushed toy again, then back to Emily, his expression softening with determination. "Maybe not ruined," he said gently. "Sometimes broken things can lead to something even better." Emily blinked, confused but curious. "What do you mean?" she asked, sniffling. Well, Keanu smiled faintly. "What if I told you we could turn this day around and make it unforgettable? You up for a little adventure?" Emily hesitated, but something about the stranger's calm confidence made her want to trust him. She glanced up at her mother, who gave a small, surprised but encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, Emily wiped her face and whispered, "Okay." Keanu stood and offered her his hand. "Let's go see what we can do." And with that, Emily's tears began to dry as hope flickered quietly in her heart once more. They were about to discover that sometimes life's unexpected gestures could heal even the deepest hurts. The bustling noise of the park faded into the background as Keanu led Emily and her mother toward a small, charming toy shop. Nestled on a nearby street corner, the shop's bright window display sparkled in the afternoon sunlight, filled with colorful planes, trains, and whimsical figurines. Emily's wide eyes darted from one toy to the next, wondering, slowly replacing the sadness that had gripped her moments ago. "Wow," she whispered, her fingers tightening around Keanu's hand. "There's so many." Keanu smiled warmly. "Pretty cool, huh? Let's see if we can find something special." Inside the shop smelled faintly of wood shavings and new plastic. Bells chimed softly as they stepped through the door. The friendly shopkeeper, an older gentleman with round glasses, greeted them cheerfully. "Afternoon, looking for something fun today?" Keanu nodded politely. "Something for my friend Emily here," he said, giving her a playful wink. Emily's mother watched from behind, clearly touched by the unexpected kindness of this stranger. "This isn't necessary," she began softly. Keanu shook his head gently. "Trust me, it's my pleasure." They wandered through aisles lined with every kind of toy imaginable. Emily's eyes lit up when they reached the section filled with sleek model airplanes, each one unique in design. Keanu knelt beside her. "See anything you like?" Her small hand hovered uncertainly over a bright blue plane with silver wings. "That one looks fast," she said shyly. "Good choice," Keanu grinned. "Fast is always fun." He lifted the toy carefully off the shelf and held it up. "But I think we can make it even better." Emily tilted her head curiously. "How?" Keanu leaned closer, his voice low, like he was sharing a secret. "What if we put your name on it and added something special just for you?" Emily's face brightened with excitement. "Really?" "Really," Keanu assured her. At the counter, he made the request to have the toy custom engraved. The shopkeeper smiled knowingly as he set to work, carefully etching the words into the underside of the plane. To Emily, "Keep flying high." While Emily watched in awe, Keanu quietly pulled the shopkeeper aside and gestured toward a nearby shelf stocked with educational toys, puzzles, books, and creative building sets. "Add those too," he said discreetly, sliding his card across the counter. "Just pack them up separately." The shopkeeper nodded with a respectful smile, understanding the gesture without a word. When the engraving was finished, Keanu knelt once more and handed the gleaming airplane to Emily. "Here you go, Captain Emily," he said with a playful salute. Her face lit up with pure joy as she traced the engraved letters with her fingers. "It's amazing," she whispered. Keanu's voice was warm. "Just like you." As they left the shop, Emily held her new treasure tightly, her mother fighting back tears of gratitude. "Thank you," her mother said softly. "You didn't have to do any of this." Keanu shrugged modestly. "Sometimes little moments can turn into big ones. Glad I got to be part of it." Emily beamed up at him. "I'm gonna keep flying high," she promised. "I know you will," Keanu said with a grin. As they walked back toward the park, the weight of loss seemed a little lighter, replaced by the promise of new adventures and the belief that even broken, things could soar again. The soft hum of studio lights filled the air as the interviewer adjusted her microphone. Across from her sat a confident, poised young woman in her late 20s, her eyes bright with passion and warmth. Emily Johnson, renowned aeronautical engineer and founder of Wings of Wonder, an organization dedicated to designing educational toys for underprivileged children, smiled as she reflected on her journey. "You've been called a pioneer in your field," the interviewer began. "Your work has inspired countless children." "But what inspired you?" Emily's smile deepened, touched by the weight of the question. She leaned forward slightly, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "There's a story I don't share often." She began, fingers brushing a small worn object on her desk. It was a bright blue toy airplane with silver wings, engraved with the words to Emily, keep flying high. The interviewer's curiosity was piqued. What's the story? Emily took a breath, her mind drifting back to that sunny afternoon in the park. All those years ago. When I was 5, I lost my father. He gave me this toy before he passed, and I treasured it more than anything. One day it broke and I was devastated. I thought nothing would ever make it right again. Her voice softened with gratitude. That's when Keanu Reeves, yes, the Keanu Reeves, happened to be there. He saw me crying, listened to my story, and did something I'll never forget. He didn't just replace the toy. He made me believe that broken things can become something even better. The interviewer gasped. Wait, Keanu Reeves? Emily chuckled. Yep. He bought me this plane and told me to keep flying high. That moment changed everything for me. It wasn't just about a toy. It was about hope, resilience, and kindness. She paused, gathering her thoughts. That one act of compassion planted a seed in me. I wanted to do for others what he did for me, to show kids that even when life knocks you down, there's always a way to rise. The interviewer smiled warmly. And now you're giving wings to thousands of children. Emily nodded. I like to think so. The camera panned to her desk, where the blue airplane gleamed under the studio lights. It was a simple toy, but to Emily it symbolized everything: hope, possibility, and the belief that kindness could change lives. As the interview wrapped up, Emily traced the engraved words once more. Keep flying high. At that moment she knew she had. And now countless others would too. The screen faded to black, leaving behind the image of a young girl's toy plane, and a legacy born from an unexpected act of kindness.